Everyone is unique and special. Some of us have something unique on the outside, some of us have something unique on the inside, and some of us have both. Some might view such things in life as a challenge, but they're often a chance for new perspectives, new possibilities, and an opportunity to connect with others. I'm unique on the outside as I'm blessed with 7 fingers. I was born this way and it's part of who I am, but I'm much more than my 7 fingers. Having 7 fingers doesn't define me, it just makes me more memorable. And often people don't even notice my hands. My 7 fingers have helped me to really see people, encourage others, and embrace what makes us all unique. I would like to take you on a journey of changing our perspectives on what might be seen as challenges, setbacks, and hurdles in life to embracing a life full of opportunity, thriving, and soaring. Let's go today on Hometown. Scottish author Thomas Carlyle wrote, "Adversity is the diamond dust that heaven polishes its jewels with." Today we will meet some people who are jewels and some people who assist with the polishing of these jewels. I want you to meet my friend Chris. He embodies the spirit of clearing hurdles as he has a quick laugh, a can-do spirit, and is very creative at figuring things out. Chris is an inspiration to us all. Chris's positive attitude and determination help make him who he is. I think you'll be inspired to try something new after hearing Chris's story. You'll also meet Elizabeth and Kaelyn from the STAR Project, 2 incredible women committed to building a community that provides essential tools for overcoming challenges and setbacks. They know that the best way every one of us can overcome something is to help each other. I'm excited for you to meet these wonderful people in our town, essential ingredients in the remarkable story of us. Chris, tables are turned here today because usually you are behind the camera or in a control room, correct?
Oh, definitely, yes. This is epic. After, 20 years behind the camera, being on set in front, it's amazing.
Well, thank you for being with us here on Hometown. And so you have been involved for 20 plus years where doing TV production?
Here in the Valley at Blue Mountain Television, and then later on at Village Church, and which is basically where I am involved now.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what do you do in those locations?
Primarily graphics, but also working with the camera, lighting, and the shading. It's called Iris, which is how bright the camera is. And also I'm a camera operator as well.
Well, thank you for being here and being on this side of the camera with me today. So Chris, you and I have got a lot going on in our lives, and we do have something special, but that doesn't define us. So why don't you tell me what the special thing is that you have? And I'm blessed with 7 fingers, and what's going on with you?
Well, I got cerebral palsy, spastic CP, and it affects my speech and my right side, my right hand and right leg. I've had it since birth. It was I had to be resuscitated at birth.
You were?
I was, yes.
Wow.
So praise the Lord, got enough oxygen to not only survive, but also thrive.
Wonderful. Absolutely. And praise the Lord indeed. But that means your grip of your right hand is affected.
It is affected. Mm-hmm. It basically, it's a helper hand. Mm-hmm. Picking stuff up, carrying, and I might have to guide it at some ways. The use of my fingers is minimal. The fine motor, the dexterity of moving each finger, I don't have access to that.
Well, I understand using, because since I don't have the opposing grip over here, I open doors, jars, things like that with my right hand with my thumb. And this arm actually is my helper arm. I
Yeah.
should call it that because you should see me when I go to the car. I've got everything loaded up in this arm so I can make sure to be able to open things. But Chris, tell me about your career and your degree, and tell me a little bit more about you.
Well, I landed here in Walla Walla at Walla Walla College about 25 years ago. I graduated with a business degree and moved on to work at Blue Mountain Television to begin with. And then I moved into IT and working with the sales business systems, online and configuring and administering those for companies.
So a database that companies can
Very
use.
much of a database,
Okay.
and training users, helping users, developing tools on that database.
Awesome. And you also play some musical instruments.
I do. My love is the French horn. It has a wonderful, great, robust sound, and also the piano. I find that very versatile and very common that I can just sit down anywhere and play, and enjoy that worship and go into another mindset musically.
And you play the violin as well?
Not anymore. I started that and as my first instrument, and my right hand didn't cooperate. And so the director said, why don't you try something else? We got thinking, thought, okay, what takes one hand? And it's the French horn.
The French horn.
And so off and on for since then I've been playing, and nothing too elaborate, but it is something that I enjoy and is a hobby.
I play the piano too, and being able to have something that we can do and not have someone tell us that it's something that we can't do, because that's not in our vocabulary, is it?
Exactly, no. No, canned is not there, and even if it's there, we have community that reminds us that, no, why don't you keep going?
Yeah. We can figure out something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I have heard you say this. Some people will look at reality. Some people will look at the dream. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Well, reality is nuts and bolts of life. You have an idea, then you have a method and the result. And barriers and challenges with some people might stop that result, stop the method, stop the process. Says, oh, I can't. Well, the dream says, I want to do this. I'm going to do this, but no, there's no, what's the word? There's no stopping. There's going to be a creative way to achieve this.
Yeah. And that I hear from you in your life is, yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn. Maybe I have to pivot and not do violin anymore.
Yeah.
What do you say to someone who they might notice something physically different about you, whether it's how you walk or your speech? What would you say to that person as to how comfortable they should be about asking you or talking with you or approaching you? What would you suggest to them?
Have no fear. I'm definitely open to answering any questions, and I've definitely had lots of questions throughout the years, and in conversation even. If there's something that you're stumbling over, say, oh, wait, what's that? What do you say? And I'll stop. I've done it many times, and I can't even count.
I do the same. I would prefer that someone come up and ask me a question, or I flat out ask somebody, do you have a question to ask me? And that way it opens them and it makes them feel comfortable that they can ask me. So I'm like, yeah, I was born this way. I have 7 fingers, and it kind of puts everything at ease. So, well, Chris, you are an inspiration, and I want to say thank you for everything that you have shared with us today. What do you want to say to that person out there who might be wondering about trying something new, and they might think that they have a limit inside of them? What would you say to them?
Do it. Try it out. The worst that can happen is you can't. You stop short, but if you don't try it, you'll always wonder.
Yeah.
Basically factor in the limitations or realities and use creativity to find a way.
I've also heard you say about falling forward to keep going, and it might not be something that you're comfortable with, but you're going to go forward and keep trying.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah. And I cannot take claim to that. It's something that I heard a long time ago through, I don't know, some business leader that I don't remember who it was now, but that's one of the things I do a lot. Listen to motivational talks, listen to other people can do and that they have achieved.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here on Hometown. And I don't do a high 5, I do a high 7. Can you do a high 7 with me?
Definitely.
Thanks, Chris.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much.
So tell me, what is the STAR Project?
So at the STAR Project, we work with formerly incarcerated individuals and justice impacted humans. So that could mean that you have a couple of parking tickets that are looming over and you don't know what you're doing. It could mean that you spent 20 years incarcerated in one of our prisons here in Washington State. The goal is to help people reintegrate into community really well.
That is amazing that it's such a large expanse of people. So what kind of, once you've sort of run up against a situation where you've either been incarcerated or you've had to work through something relating to law enforcement and the court system, what kinds of basically hindrances do you end up running into? What kind of challenges can you run into?
Well, unfortunately, it's a lot, and it can seem really all-encompassing and overwhelming. When you've been justice impacted, the idea is, right, that someone went to prison or they went to jail and they served their debt to society.
Correct.
Right? Unfortunately, in practice, that isn't what happens. When people are exiting incarceration, it comes with a huge stigma. You're kind of walking around with that giant scarlet letter that says, how do I get a job? How do I get housing, right? People look at your background for all of those things. Maybe you have an eviction because you were incarcerated, and how did you communicate that to your landlord? Could you communicate that with your landlord? Did you have the finances to pay that off? And so you have all of these extra baggage pieces now, right? You probably have legal financial obligations that you have to pay off. So your credit is bad now, whatever other things have been kind of hanging on, and oftentimes the things that led you to incarceration also still are there. Right?
You know, I heard a rumor one time, and I want some clarification on it, and that is that you are often released back into the same place where you were arrested in Washington State. Is that correct?
That is correct. So you are released to your county of origin. Now, that sounds like it could be good because you're like, oh, we're releasing to where your family is.
Right.
But oftentimes your family isn't the healthiest for you.
Yes.
It also could mean that you're releasing to a county that you've received a felony in when you were 17. You no longer live there. Maybe you have never lived there as an adult, and now you're in a community that you have no support system in. So it can kind of be this very tricky, this tripwire, really, where is it good or bad to be in this place where you have support or not?
One of the things that I've noticed a lot in society today is that we have a very short tolerance for making mistakes. And some of us make little mistakes, and we're fortunate and we learn from them and go on. What are some of the things that this program helps people who make big mistakes? How do you approach that? How do you help them know that you have things to offer society? Society wants you to be productive. How can we help you learn from what happened and now get better and do more because you face this challenge?
That is kind of, you've encompassed our mission,
Yeah.
truly, right? It's
Yeah.
that we want to welcome and partner with people who are just as impacted to build those skills and relationships that contribute to flourishing community. And the community is the key part, right?
Yes.
And so
Yep.
when you're saying, hey, as someone who's made a big mistake, how do we come past that? As someone who's made a small mistake, how do you get past that? When you think about like your toddler and they first tell you their first lie or whatever, and you think, oh, wait, this is, and you're like, oh, this is a huge mistake. Do we react really hugely to it, or do we just we start to talk about what are the natural consequences of that, right?
Yep.
It still took you or your toddler's community. And so when we're looking at someone who is coming out of incarceration or who's just as impacted, who's made some of those bigger mistakes, the first key is community. And so as a team at STAR, we help them start to understand what community is with us as kind of safe humans in that space. We start to have them integrate with other individuals who are part of our program to build that larger community. And then we also help provide opportunities for them to integrate out into the larger community. What does it look like to engage in civic work? What does it look like to find places to volunteer? What does it look like to move out of maybe our transitional housing and get really good at being a human as an adult and being a great renter, right? What does it look like to then move into permanent housing? All of those steps into community are how we overcome mistakes. But sometimes when you've made those big ones and you think, I don't have any value at all, it has to start just really small. So it might just be between you and your case manager and having those initial conversations where, okay, if one person believes in me, maybe somebody else can too.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being with us today. And thank you for sharing with me what you guys do. It's amazing. Thank you. Kaelyn, we're so glad you're here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And you are on the board of the STAR Project, and you are the education director, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us what that's about.
So my job as the director of education is mostly revolves around making sure that we have programming. So we have talked a little bit about how many different challenges can arise when people are facing incarceration. And so what we try to do is offer programming both inside of incarceration as well as outside of incarceration to help kind of bridge that gap of knowledge. You know, the saying commonly around the office is, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Right? And there's a lot of things that
I feel that
I've learned that I don't know, right? And it is absurd that we assume that just because someone has turned 18 or because someone is 30 or 40 or 50, that they know that information, right? And so we have programs to teach people how to be better renters, financial literacy programs, digital literacy programs. We also connect with other community organizations that do those things, and so that they can help in that.
Right, so everybody can collaborate to help the individual. So that goes back to the idea of community. So not only is it community as people, but it's partnerships within other organizations that specialize. Is that?
Yeah, because I don't need to be anybody's savior, right? Like I don't need to do everything for anyone, and that doesn't actually help someone get better, right? That doesn't actually help someone be part of community and rebuild those connections. And so we find it to be really valuable to work with community partners to make that happen.
Healthy resourcefulness is such an important concept for people. And I would think that the more challenges you have, the more you need to understand how to be resourceful in a healthy way. And you guys model that not only in the way that you do it yourself and you mentor people, but also in that partnership. So I think that's kind of special, you know, by partnering with other places. Here you can go here and get this, and you can get that there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a big part of my job is people say, hey, I want to go to school, I want to get a job, I want to do these things. And so I say, okay, cool. Here are the different organizations that help that happen, right? And then, you know, the next time I meet with them, I say, okay, how did that go, right? Accountability is a big part of what we do because everyone's accountable to someone, right? In my marriage, I'm accountable to my husband. At work, I'm accountable to my coworkers. And in my friendships, I'm accountable there too. And so we want to teach that skill as well.
And accountability makes us better. It does not shut us down. And
100%.
That's a hard thing for us to remember as we get older, and especially when we're very young. Talk to me a minute about the digital divide. That is something I have never considered before, but if you've been incarcerated for a while, when you come out, the world is way different than it's been. How does that affect people?
Well, I think there's a lot of embarrassment to it for a lot of people, right? Because if you look at an elementary school nowadays, they're using Chromebooks, they're using tablets, they're using cell phones even sometimes, right? And so if a kid can do it, why am I as a 30-year-old leaving incarceration unable to? Right? And the longer you've been without, the more insecurity there is. But I also think the other piece of it is that technology was different a lot of times when people go and they're incarcerated, right? And so they don't expect the changes. The other piece of that is if people are in poverty, they might not even have that to begin with, right? So there's a lot of things I think that go into the digital divide. And I think that it's really important that we're advocating for letting people who are currently incarcerated to bridge that already.
Absolutely. It's just something that I think never crossed my mind. But that also leads me to the idea, how can people help your organization? How can they become part of the community that helps people coming out through the STAR project?
Yeah, so that's a big part of my board role is I help coordinate all the volunteers.
Oh, wow.
So if people are interested, they can go to our website and there's a spot on there that says, fill out this form to, submit to be a volunteer. And so we go through that and I connect with people every week. I have meetings every week with people who say, hey, I really want to do this running club. Could I do that with your organization, right? One of the things that we really try to do is on Saturdays, we have time for people to come together and learn a new hobby, learn a new skill.
That's so cool.
Right? So if we're trying to think about how we reestablish ourselves, if I used to on Saturdays do harmful behavior, now what do I do on a Saturday, right? Or a Friday night or whatever it might be.
So you replace it with something good.
Yeah, well,
something
and
healthy.
a big part of that is we want people to learn new skills, right? Maybe like I have recently found out I love doing glass work.
Really?
Yeah, I had never even thought about that, but somebody was like, oh, we should take this class. And I was like, I'm not really an artist. I don't really know. But I had a great time, right? And so now it's something that is healthy, that I can do, that I get to create beautiful art with, right? And so that's what we try to do with our participants, whether it be teaching how to crochet or how to knit or how to sew or how to garden or different paintings or art projects, how to fix your car, right? There's a lot of skills that we can teach people that might be their new hobby they fall in love with.
Well, I hope that a lot of people will see this and say, you know what, I want to contribute to community and come and do that through the STAR Project. Incredible organization. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, recording. 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, my name is Nick Maniscalco, and January 27, 2008, I was in a car accident. I hit black ice and my clip cut. January 27, 2008, I was in a car accident. I hit black ice going around a slight corner and slammed into a parked flatbed semi-trailer. The back of my skull was crushed into my brain about 4 inches. I went into a coma, spent the next 8 months in the hospital. 4 of those months were in a coma. The doctors told my parents that I might not ever walk again, I might not ever talk, I wouldn't be a normal human being. They thought that I might not even remember anybody, any of my friends, family, so forth.
We didn't know where Nick would end up. From a hospital bed, where to from here? Anything is up. And so we celebrated every improvement.
I've taken what they have said and I've used it to fuel my fire.
From being able to stand, being able to take his first steps, being able to walk with a 4-prong cane, be able to walk in a walker, be able to drive again.
I have walked 365 miles within 365 days because they said I'd never walk. I've talked to almost 45 large congregations. I've gone back to school. I've graduated from college.
Nick is a very humble person, and in the past he hasn't felt like his story is really that significant, but the reality is Nick's story is very significant.
My brain does not connect as well with my left leg or my left side of my body, so I wear a brace.
Nick was always looking for a new challenge in his life, and he had the idea of riding his bicycle 500 miles to be able to raise money for other people who have had traumatic brain injuries. And so in summer of 2021, that's exactly what he did. He rode his bike 530 miles to raise money for others.
I had to buy clip-in shoes so that my foot sticks to the pedal and so I can pull and push at the same time.
I was kind of wondering if we could somehow do that to the shoe, an external fixation to the shoe.
I have to have this band around my knee to hold it out, because if I don't, my knee will bow in and it'll start knocking the other knee, and it really hurts after a while. And then I get out and ride. I took a marketing class this semester. It was difficult, but at the same time, as a group project, we were able to market my bicycle ride.
You know, one thing I learned through this, every traumatic brain injury is different. The time of recovery and the degree of recovery is different in every person.
The thing about Nick is that he knows that this could be much more than a bike ride.
I was telling my friend, I was like, I would love to be able to help be someone who networks and finds people to help Nick. You know, we could do the stuff that Nick doesn't want to do. And then Nick could just do, you know, be the pretty face and the smile of the whole
He
thing.
can do his thing.
On a sticker, on someone's water bottle.
I'll do that. I'll be the sticker on the water bottle. I have a traumatic brain injury, and that's not gonna stop me. Cut.
Maybe some aspects in your life might not be physical and as apparent as what makes Chris and me unique. Joshua 1:9 reminds us to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. He is always with us. And it doesn't end there. We can encourage each other. It takes all of us to see each other, realize we need each other, and find ways we can contribute to thrive and soar together as we continue to build our community. Community is one of the things I love best about the Walla Walla Valley, and let's continue to keep improving it together. I will start right now by picking up my phone and actually calling someone I know and talking with them in real time to encourage them today. Maybe you can think of someone you can call and encourage too. Now, I don't do a high five, I do a high seven, so a high seven from me. I'll see you next week on our next episode of Hometown.
Do you love uplifting stories of people in our community as much as we do? When you give a gift, you make local, uplifting, community-focused programming like Hometown possible. To find out how, just use the QR code or visit our website at the link in our bio. And don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more great stories about our valley.